Hello and welcome to the section 2.4 lecture today for Bridges Geometry. Today we're going to be looking at some more coordinate geometry stuff. We're going to look at the midpoint formula, which is the way to find halfway between 2 points. So let's dive right into it and see what we can do. I started the normal class. This is abnormal, but the day in class with taking a look at what we mean when we say halfway between two locations. I use North Bend to Eugene today. And a lot of times we mean various different things. We either mean distance-wise or time-wise, and typically we mean traveling, right? Driving, whatever the most common mode of transportation is between the two locations. So rarely is it a straight line, especially in the North Bend to Eugene. You're going one of two ways probably. You're either going all the way up, all the way over, or kind of a stair-step type of path. Okay, 101 to 126 or 101 to 38 to I-5. Kind of the two most popular ways to get there. And based on those, where halfway was, we talked about a bunch of different ideas. Some people kind of stuck with it's 2 hours to get there, so 1 hour in. Really what we're getting at saying that is wherever that midpoint is, that halfway mark is, whatever you've experienced, you have to do again. Okay? Even on this one, it's about here. Okay, you've gone a certain distance. You've got to go do that again to reach your destination. Okay, now on a graph, it's a little bit different. I'm actually not going to talk about this one, so I'm going to get rid of that. On a graph, it's a little bit different. And on this one, I would say that most people could spot visually where the midpoint was. And this is the same one that we used in the last section, the same line segment that we found the distance of, and I think that's a good thing to be able to find distance and midpoint of any segments. But I think most people would say the midpoint's right there with pretty good accuracy. Whether it's because you said, well, I mean, it does make sense that using the slope to go from here to here, I'd go down 1 over 1. And then it's got to be the same distance if I do that same thing again. And that's totally fine. Okay, what we want to be able to do is have some algebraic way to do it in case the points are too big, I don't have graph paper, I just want to figure it out. And I will say that it's much better than finding the distance. The distance formula makes really ugly numbers. The midpoint formula is a little bit easier. So for the midpoint formula, we're looking at the midpoint, and actually I'm not going to, well, I will. I'll say that it's that. I'm going to call it xm comma ym. So the middle of the x and the middle of the y. It's built by taking the two x coordinates, adding them together and dividing by 2, and then taking the two y coordinates, adding them together and dividing by 2, which is just the average of the x's and the average of the y's. There's only 2 points, so you would just take their average by adding them and dividing by 2. Let's make sure that that works in this example here. So same numbers as yesterday, -3, 3. -1, 1, and we propose that the answer is probably -2, 2. Let's make sure that we get to that. So we'll do the same thing. We'll say we got x1, y1, and x2, y2. I think I did these different opposite yesterday, but that's okay. It really doesn't matter. So the midpoint is equal to the x's added together, -3 plus -1 over 2. And then the y's added together, 3 plus 1 over 2. So for the x's, I've got -3 and -1. That adds up to -4. So -4 over 2. 3 plus 1 adds up to 4, and that's 4 over 2. And if I simplify those, -4 over 2 is -2. 4 over 2 is equal to 2. So that is our midpoint, visually and algebraically. Okay, not too bad. Again, if anybody asks me, hey, I need you to find distance or midpoint, I'm going to find midpoint every time. All I have to do is add and divide by 2. Okay. And another thing about that, distance almost always is going to give you a very ugly number. There's only very few that are going to work out to give you some nice numbers. And that has to do with the only non-decimal square roots between 1 and 100. There's only 10 of them. Okay. So that's why. And all those decimals are very ugly. There is no just, oh, it's 0.5. You might round to 0.5, but it's not just 0.5. So on midpoint, though, probably if I have integer coordinates, the worst decimal I'm going to get is 0.5. Most of them probably won't have a decimal. Okay, so we're going to change up what the expectations are down here just a little bit. I'm going to go through the first 4, kind of how they want me to, and then I've got a new set of instructions for the last 2, which I just didn't type on here. You're going to have to write it. It's okay. But it's going to get you ready for the assignment that you have. So midpoint, I'm going to start off by just labeling which ones are which. And I'm actually going to show you maybe a different way to organize this that maybe helps you make sense of it a little bit. I'll do it both the way that I did up top. I'll do that over on the right side, and on the left side, I'm going to show you a little different way. Really what this created was 2 equations. It says that the x-coordinate of the midpoint is the x's added together and divided by 2. So I could just put those in there. -5 plus 1 divided by 2. That feels like -4. That looks familiar, which is -2. And then I could go and I could find the y-coordinate of the midpoint. Totally separate. Just do it separately. Keep your work a little more separated, a little bit easier on the brain. How about that? Because mine's struggling right now. All right. For the y-coordinates, we have 2 and 0. So 2 plus 0 divided by 2 sounds like 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So we get the midpoint at 2, 1. I think that way is just a little bit easier sometimes for people that have a hard time with organization. I think that was the word I was looking for earlier. Found it. Got it. Good. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And so here I'm just going to use the probably more standard notation. Just find them both kind of at the same time. But we've got x's at 10 and -5, and y's at -5 and 0. Add them, divide by 2. That looks like 5 over 2. That looks like -5 over 2. You could leave your answer like that if you wanted to, or if you wanted to go with the decimal notation, you could as well. 2.5, -2.5. That would be just as good. Either one of those answers works. God, I put a lot of zeros in here. I'm not sure why I did that. Oh well. The next one, I'm going to do it this way just to show a difference of how you can organize it. We've got x1, y1, x2, y2, so we've got 9 plus 10. Okay, it's going to bug me if I don't label them. So I'll label them. I'm weird like that. 9 plus 10 is 19, which 19 divided by 2, I believe, is 9.5. I don't know why I'm putting a box around that. Don't do that. Not yet. We're not there yet. And then the y-coordinate of the midpoint is negative 10 plus 0 divided by 2. Sounds like negative 10 divided by 2, which is negative 5. So my midpoint is at 9.5, negative 5. My pen is slowly lagging out. If you caught the video about a week ago, it was really bad. It's actually why I'm a little behind on videos right now, but this is getting me caught up. So I think we're good. But I got so screwed up by it that it just threw me for a loop. So on this one, I'm going to add the x's. Got a lot of negatives here. Negative 6 plus 1. That looks like a familiar friend. And then negative 4 plus negative 4 for the y's. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5, and negative 5 divided by 2 is negative 2.5. Negative 4 plus negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So we get that as our midpoint, and we're good there. Now to change the bottom two, because these questions are on your practice on the back, and I want to take a look at them, we're going to, I don't feel like writing it because it's going to ruin my pen and it's going to make me upset. We're going to find the missing endpoint. Okay, we're going to say that this first one is the endpoint and the second one is the midpoint. Just going to abbreviate it because the pen's going so bad that everything's getting a little laggy here. Let's get kind of a visual of what's going on here. I'll probably end up erasing it, but that's okay. I've got an endpoint at negative 210. Let's say that's somewhere up there. Negative 210. And a midpoint at 4.2. Let's say that's maybe there. I want to figure out where that other endpoint has to be. Okay, if that 4.2 is the halfway point, where am I going to end up is my question. Okay, I'm going to set both these up like this one that I did up here because I think it's a little bit more user-friendly to do that way. So kind of organizing what I have, I've got x1, y1 on the endpoint, and then the midpoints are the xm, ym. Okay, the midpoint coordinates of that point. So I kind of set it all up the same. I'm going to say that the midpoint, if I write out this equation kind of in general, it's the midpoint of the x is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And eventually the midpoint of the y will be y1 plus y2 divided by 2. But let's focus on the x first. So xm actually comes first. That's the equal side. It equals 4. Over here I've got negative 2 plus the missing x coordinate over 2. Well, now I just have an equation to solve. Got to multiply by 2 on both sides to get rid of that. And I get 8 is equal to negative 2 plus x2. There's got to be something that could fix this. I don't know what it is. There's almost literally nothing running on my computer, but it's battling life. So then we'd add 2 to both sides. Yeah, that didn't fix it. And we would get 8 plus 2 is 10. So the missing x-coordinate in that problem is 10. And that kind of makes sense. If I go from -2 to 4, that's moving 6. So I'd have to move over 6 more to get where I want to end up. I would almost look at it like doing this. Okay, if I move 6 this way to get there, I've got to move another 6. Now we could probably figure out the y-coordinate using this picture, but I'm pretending we don't have that a little bit. And so the y midpoint is going to be y1 plus y2 over 2. And the actual midpoint is 2. The original point is -2 plus y2 over 2. Gosh, there's a lot of 2's there. Yeah. It is what it is. Multiply both sides by 2. We get 4 is equal to -2 plus y2. And we'll add 2 to both sides. Yeah, I really apologize for this. My handwriting is not this bad, and trying to fix it almost makes it worse. We get 6. No, I messed something up there. Oh, I used the x. No wonder. Felt like there was too many 2's. In class, somebody would yell at me, "Hey, you used the wrong thing there." And I'd say, "Thank you, you're right." It's kind of hard to do in a video. The y1 is a 10. That's why I do go through and I label those things, because then it helps me spot when I feel like something's wrong. I felt like something was wrong there. Okay, so that's actually a 10. We'd subtract 10. And we'd get -6 for the y2. Which again makes sense. If I go down 10 to 4 is going down 6. So if I go down another 6 here, that's, no. Okay, good try. That's 10 to 2, so it's going down 8. So I went down 8 to get me to -6. We're doing okay. We're fine. My missing coordinate is 10, -8. So much fun to deal with technology that doesn't want to work with you. I'm going to get rid of this picture because it's going to kind of get in my way here. This next one that I have, we'll go x1, y1, and this will be my midpoint. Okay, we'll just set it up the same way. So I'm going to say the midpoint is equal to the first coordinate, which is -8, plus x2 divided by 2, multiplied by 2 on both sides. 4 is equal to -8. It's just so terrible. Plus x2. I will add 8 to both sides. Yep, that's an 8. It is. Those cancel, and I get 12. My 5-year-old can write better than that. Okay, now let's go find the other coordinate. The y midpoint is equal to the y coordinate plus y2 over 2. Jeez. I apologize, but yes, getting frustrated. I am. Let's talk this one out so I don't get too upset. Multiply it by 2. We get 2 equals 2 plus y2. Should get y2 equals 0. There we go. The missing endpoint is at 12, 0. All right. Yeah, and that should give you enough to get it done. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. Working on technology every day. Have a great day. I'll see you in class.